Okay, now I've got the side areas pushed in to where I can cut away the excess material. Let's just follow along the line of where I cut the other one. And when it gets right around here, it drops down. Peel that away there. Go ahead and heat this up a bit and press that in a little bit more. There we go. Now let's just kind of trim this area up, give me a little bit of material to wrap around to the underside when I take the tail off. Okay, now we're ready to apply the front side of the behind the driver. You can see I've got a nice large area of red here that ships. Depending on how your Bikeskinz set up, it's going to have a piece where you can patch this area behind the seat. One thing I'd like to do first before I apply it, I'm looking at it, just making sure I have enough space to cover everything I need to. We're going to also apply some stripping tape to this as well. Okay, so now we're getting ready to apply the stripping tape. I want to spray this with a little bit of alcohol. That's going to help the material stick to itself because it'll be totally clean. There we go. You don't have to give that long to dry because it's alcohol, so it does dry really quick, especially if you wipe it off like that. And now I'm just going to take a stripping tape. And looking at it, I think what I'd like to do is come to the inside here, maybe around that much, something like that. And I'm just going to come up, and this is what pinstripers do a lot. Whenever you get to a section like this, you just pivot with this as you hold your finger down. You can actually get it to curve. So I'll come over here to the other side so I can apply it a little easier. And let's take the backing off of the piece that we're going to apply here. We can take it all the way off. We don't have to mask it or anything like that because it's such a small piece. The only reason you need to mask off sections or tape up sections and peel half of it is because the piece is so large that it's hard to manage. It's hard to keep it lined up as you're applying it. For something like this, you're going to have so much excess material that it really doesn't matter. And also because it's really large, so you got a lot of area that you're going to cut away, so you don't have to make sure it lines up to the tape or anything like that as much. So it's pretty much applied there. Let's take the felt sleeve and smooth it out. There's no wrinkles in this at all. It's so small it's easy to apply. And just smooth it out enough to where we can see where the stripping tape is. Okay, so now I'm ready to cut away the excess material here. I'm going to start, reposition yourself so you have a good angle of the light. You can see where it's at. But I want to cut outside of the tape a little bit as it comes to the top here. So let's start cutting. I've got a brand new blade in now as well too. If you drop a blade or something like that, it's going to be really important to replace it because you need to have the tip of the blade as sharp as possible when you're cutting away excess like this. There we go. And also extra material like this, I like to kind of stick it somewhere where it can kind of hang down and be extra just in case we need it. Let's go ahead and cut the other side now. And again, I'm going to stay to the outside of the stripping tape slightly, or just barely to the inside of the stripping tape, because it's starting to overlap. I want to be able to have as much of that material overlap as possible. There we go. So let's set down the knife and peel this away. And now let's pull away the stripping tape. Okay. Now let's take the felt sleeve, press down the seams. Got a nice overlap all through here. Okay, perfect. Now before we remove the tail, we're going to have to trim around the solo tail cover, and also there's a seam here. You're going to have to cut that out as well, because the tail has to be, in some bikes you can remove them in two sections, and some you can remove in one if they're loosened up a little bit. So if you have that split up there, you can kind of spread it apart and then pull it off and wrap the back side of the tail.